Hi everybody, Tuplex here. Thanks for joining me. In the last episode, we got our high-tech science production set up, and it's running just fine. Like I said last time, I think where we're going to have an issue is with our blue circuit production. I don't think it's going to be fast enough. We do need more circuits. But a more pressing concern right now is our power situation. We're running very low. Let's take a look at our... Yeah, I mean our generators are all fully generating. But it's time to go nuclear. So let's do that. Let me just check my ratios real quick. If I search for Factorio 15 nuclear ratio, it takes me to a Reddit post where I can see that for one reactor, we want 1 offshore pump, 4 heat exchangers, and 7 turbines. And that'll give us 40 megawatts. So let's go pick up our supplies. All right, we want not 25, but 4 heat exchangers. Okay, and then we need 7 turbines. Oops, I didn't want that many. There we go, 7 turbines. And I'm gonna take all 50 heat pipes. Alright, let's get rid of some of this other junk, because I need a lot of inventory to hold the stuff that is required to make the reactor. Yeah, stone brick I don't need. Don't use a whole lot of stone brick on a daily basis. Where can I put this? Yeah, you need some and you need some. Okay, what else can I get rid of? Wooden chests, I don't really need. Efficiency modules, I don't need. Okay. Well, let's see what we need for the reactor. We need 4 ingredients. 500 concrete, 500 steel, 500 red circuits, and 500 copper plates. So why don't we do this? All right, I'm going to request the 500 concrete so that I don't have to run all the way there to get it. Let's get 500 red circuits. We'll grab all those. We'll grab all those. How many is that? Okay, that's 500. Okay, we need 500 steel. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And 500 copper plate. That'll be easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we just need the 500 concrete, which is on its way. Got a long line of robots bringing me concrete. Almost there. Alright, let me cancel that request now. There we go. because there's already a bunch on the way. I don't want to get totally bogged down with concrete. Okay, now we have everything we need. Let's make a pump, and we should probably pick up some more pipe while we're at it. Ah, cool. 400,000 iron plates per hour. I'm surprised I got an achievement because I'm using mods. I thought you couldn't do that. But anyway, that's pretty cool. Wonder if I should upgrade these furnaces. I think those are the only furnaces I still have. Well, and I have... No, I already upgraded all the steel. Yeah. Let's disconnect the fuel. We'll let them use up the rest of the fuel that they have, and then when they're starved, we'll put electric furnaces there. Okay, so I need to figure out where I want to put the reactor. Putting it here seems convenient, but I want this to be expandable. So I think probably down here, south of our steam generation, would be a good place because we've got tons of room to expand downward. So let's set it up down there. I'm gonna grab enough stuff to make one stack of fuel cells. Okay, I need some iron and I need some of the stuff that we don't want. Okay, and that'll give me 10 fuel cells. 10 fuel cells is enough to power the reactor for about 30 minutes. Each one takes 200 seconds to process. And you get a stack of 10 for every uranium-235 that you use. So that's where that number comes from. All right, let's just make sure that we're clear of debris. And I'm gonna start here and then work my way down. And I think I'd like to pave this area. Because it looks nice. So let's ask for more concrete. Bring me 500. We want to put down some roboports, because we do need this to be part of our network. And I think I'll put another one over here as well. Okay. Yeah, I have to stay here, otherwise they won't bring me the stuff I want. There we go. Okay, there's my concrete. All right, so we'll just start with the concrete pad for the reactors to sit on. And what I'm going to be doing is putting the reactors too wide. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. I want to ghost. It doesn't let me do it. Hang on. That's how it's going to be. Okay, that looks more or less even. All right, so we'll start there. And I've got visitors. All right, so we're going to want to wall in here. Let's set this up. And we'll put a couple laser turrets there in the meantime. I'm not sure where these guys are coming from. Wherever it is, they're coming a long way. I mean, they must be coming from here, from those two bases. We'll have to go and clean them out before too long. Okay. So with the reactor set up like this, we should be feeding in from the sides and then feeding out. We feed in the fuel cells, and then the spent fuel cells are fed out as they get used up. And then, let's see, where should I put? I think I'll put the heat exchangers over here. So let's clear out some more space. Okay, and we're getting attacked over here. They killed one of my chemical factories. I forgot to put defenses over there. So let's go do that real quick. Okay. With the lasers. Okay. Probably need to have an episode dedicated to beefing up our defenses. All right. Okay, so I think I have more substations. Yeah, so I'll just put one. I guess I'll put it right there. Okay. Yeah, so like I said, eventually we'll have requester chests and an active provider chest for the spent fuel cells. Okay, so fuel goes in there, and then coming out of here are the heat pipes. So we'll need to move that. So heat pipes come out, and as you might guess, the heat pipes carry the heat from the reactor to the heat exchangers. And then the heat exchangers generate the steam that we need for the turbines. And then the turbines make the actual electricity. Okay, so we need to feed water in, and then the steam comes out here. And we put our turbines. And actually, before we go to the turbines, I want to go into storage tanks. And I want one more storage tank. I need some steel for that. I saw a turret being damaged, but I didn't see where it was. All right, let me get some steel. What are you bringing me? A light? I'm right here, guy. The reason we use the storage tanks is to store steam. The drawback, I would say, of the nuclear power is that once you put in the fuel cell, which is fairly expensive to make, it burns nonstop for 200 seconds. And it doesn't matter how much electricity you're using, it burns at the same rate nonstop. So what we're going to do is put a buffer on the steam that we produce by putting in these storage tanks. And the general rule of thumb is 1 tank per heat exchanger. Now let me check my ratio again, because when we add a second reactor, we're going to want 16 heat exchangers. So I think I should leave myself some room for more heat exchangers. Let me just blueprint that. So after this, I can do like 2 rows of 8. Right, and then we can put the tanks here. Okay. So for now, we'll connect that with underground pipe. Let's change the arrangement there. Okay. Let me put my roboports back in. Right, and we need to clear these trees. Okay, and then from here we will feed the turbines. Actually, I want to put a space. And this might not be the best layout. In fact, it is probably not the best layout. So later on, we may decide to clean this up after I do some more research into best practices there. Okay, but we'll have steam coming out. And then we'll use a substation to pick up the power. And it looks like I can get all 7 of these with 1. And we'll hook that up to our grid. Okay, so we are pretty much ready to rock. All we have to do is put in a fuel cell. Now, what we would like to do is only put in fuel when we need more power. And the way that we know that we need more power is by monitoring our steam. Okay, so we're going to set up a circuit to do all that. So first we'll wire our steam tanks together. I guess that's too far. Okay, will that connect there? No. Okay, so we'll do this with a series of combinators. So let's make some Let's make some combinators. Okay, so the first one will be to determine whether we need power. Okay, and we'll do that by checking our steam level. There we go. Okay. So this one, we're going to monitor steam. And we want to insert when steam is low and there's no fuel in the reactor. So we want this to give a positive condition when the steam is low. So for now, let's say less than 25,000. That's 25%. So when steam is low, let's output a green signal. Basically saying, give me some more steam, or give me more fuel. And we'll hook that up to a light. Okay, so right now this is saying we need more power because there's no steam in the tanks at all. Okay, so that's good. The other condition that we want to check is whether we have fuel already inserted. If there's fuel inserted, then we're not going to put anything in. If fuel is needed, then we're going to tell the inserter to put in another fuel cell. So if there's no fuel there already and we need more power, it's going to put in another fuel cell. Otherwise, it's going to wait. Okay, so the next thing we need is we need some way to know whether or not we have fuel in. And we'll do that with another combinator. And we're going to set this up as what's called an SR latch. That basically means set and reset. So we set this up. If set is greater than reset, then output set equals 1. And what that allows us to do, I'll just demonstrate real quickly. Some of you guys may have seen this before. But let's say we have 2 signals hooked up. Okay, and we'll use a light to show us when it is set. Okay, so if I give it a signal of S, meaning turn on the latch, you can see the light turns on. And if I give it a signal of R, meaning to reset it, it turns off. Now the nice thing about this is that, turn that back on. The nice thing about this is that it remembers the last state it was in. Okay, now you can only give it one of these at a time for it to work. All right, so if there's an S and no R, it turns on. And then if we turn off the set signal, it stays on until we give it a reset signal. Okay, so we're going to use this to tell us when we have inserted fuel. So we do that by giving it an input from each of these inserters. Okay, so we're going to tell these to read contents. Also, I'm going to override the stack size to 1 so that it only gives us a signal, or so that it only inserts 1 at a time. Okay, read hand contents, and this one I don't want to be enabled. Okay. And actually I don't want to hook those up here. Let me do that again. So basically when I pick up a fuel cell to put it in, I want it to send a set signal here. So I need that with another, I need another decider combinator for that. All right, so here we're going to say if we read a fuel cell, then we want to output the set signal. then we'll set this to read the hand contents. We'll enable it later. Okay, so when this picks up a fuel cell, it's going to send the set signal here, right? And we can demonstrate that real quickly. There. See, so it picked up a fuel cell, it put it in there. We can see that it's now burning. The temperature is starting to rise. Okay, and now it's set. So now it's not receiving any more signal from here, but it remembered its last value. Okay. Now the reset is going to be when we take a spent fuel cell out. So in this case, when we detect a used uranium fuel cell, we're going to send a reset signal. And that's going to come from that inserter. Okay, and this one we read hand contents only. Right. Okay, so we'll see when this one comes out, the light will turn off. But first I have to get some water down here. We can't forget about that. Because nothing's going to work without water. It doesn't work anyway until it gets to 500 degrees, so we're not losing time or anything. All right, where's my offshore pump? There it is. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so we can see the temperature. Awesome. Okay, let's do our fusion reactor next. Okay, so we can see the reactor is now at 160 degrees, and you can see that the heat pipe is getting hotter as well. Heat pipes are at 137, right? So it's carrying the heat to the heat exchangers, which will gradually heat the water to create steam. But they won't make steam until we get 500 degrees, so it takes a while. Actually, we use up more than a fuel cell just to get up to temperature. Wow, these guys are getting tough. All right, so we got that set. This is almost ready to deposit, and then we'll see this turn off. Okay, so now we know if there's fuel inserted or not. We know if we need power or not. So the last thing to do is to take that information and send a signal to the inserter to put in another fuel cell. So for that, we will use an arithmetic combinator. Okay, so let's get our output from there, saying yes, we need power. And then we'll get our output from here. Yeah, see, now you can see the light is turned off. There's no fuel cell. We'll wait before we put in another one. So there's no fuel cell. Now in this case, we need to invert that signal because this has no signal. And not having a fuel cell, we need to give a positive value here when there's no fuel cell. Okay, so I'm going to put another, I'm going to put another decider combinator. And this is going to be saying if S equals 0, then S equals 1. Okay, so that's basically just like a not. Let's use a green there. Okay, so this is giving me an S equals 1 on the output, which is what we want. Okay, so here we're going to say green times S. Output, we'll output green. Okay, so this is saying that because there's no fuel and we need power, this is giving me a green signal on the output, which we are now going to connect to this inserter. And we're going to tell this to enable when green is greater than 0. Okay, and we'll hook up a light here. Actually, maybe we should use another color just to differentiate. Let's use pink. Okay. Now, we're going to put in the whole stack. It should only insert 1. There it goes. So it inserted 1. Once it did that, it turned on the fuel loaded signal, which means that this one is now turned off, because now it only has the signal that it needs steam, but it doesn't have the signal that it needs more fuel. So it's not going to insert another one until the spent fuel cell comes out. And that's how that works. Let me just move that light. That's S. There we go. Okay, so this light tells us that there is fuel inside. This light tells us, let's put that there as well. Let's be consistent. This light tells us that we need more power because we don't have enough steam. And this light will tell us when we need to insert more. And this is really just going to blink. Okay. So temperature is still rising. Again, it's not going to make steam until we get to 500. So I'm just going to pause here and we'll wait until the temperature comes up to see what happens. All right, temperature is not up yet, but we're about to burn up a fuel cell. Okay, so you could see that as soon as this one picked up the spent one, it turned off the fuel inside signal. This one went pink, and it added another fuel cell. So the system works pretty well, and then as we add more reactors, we can synchronize them, and we'll basically set up the insertion on all these inserters to the same signal. We'll just wire them all in, so we don't have to repeat this combinator setup for every reactor. We just need it once. And then as long as they're all inserting at the same time, they'll all remove at the same time, and they'll all be synchronized. So the reactor itself is now at 526, 27, so it's heating up. Looks like the first turbine, or the first heat exchanger, is now up to temperature. The other one's not yet, but we're producing steam, which we can see is now going into the tanks. Okay, so what happens is once the steam builds up, you can shut off the reactor and the turbines will continue to run on the steam that you have in storage. All right, so now we can see that we're producing about 15 megawatts, and this number will continue to climb, and that'll start to take some of the load off of the steam power. Okay, we've got 6,000. Once that hits 25,000 of steam, then this light will turn off. This will say that we don't need to add more fuel because we have plenty of steam in the tank. And then it won't add any more fuel until we've used up all but 25,000 steam. So let's just wait a few moments and watch that happen. Looks like it's building up fairly quickly because we're not pulling a lot of power from here yet. So with this setup, we can get 40 megawatts. And you know, we can see we're only making about 23. Looks like the exchangers are all up to temperature now. Yep. This one too. So these are all making steam now. And all our turbines are turning. So again, we'll just wait a moment for the steam to get up to 25K so you can see what happens there. Okay, it just inserted another fuel cell. Steam is at 23,000. We're still only using about half of our capacity here. Okay, so we just hit 25,000 in the tanks and this light turned off. Okay, so now we've got fuel inside. We don't need to add more fuel because we've got more than 25% of our steam built up. We could set that to any number. For now, I think 25% will be enough. As the power demand increases, we may raise that number. Because the other thing is that when you stop adding fuel, the system starts to cool down. And if it drops below 500, you have to wait for the temperature to come back up again. Unfortunately, at this time in the game, there's no way to monitor the temperature. Otherwise, I would set this up to just to add more fuel when the temperature drops again. But no, we can't do that now. So we monitor the steam, and based on the steam level, that's how we decide when to add more fuel. Okay, I set up a wall down here to protect this area since we had some consistent attacks. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with a requester chest. And we're going to have it request fuel cells, so that later when we automate the production of the fuel cells, they'll bring them down here. And then here I'm going to put an active provider so that the spent fuel cells are taken away as soon as they're generated. Okay. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and make one more stack. I don't want to make too many right now because I want to save up to get 40 pieces of Covarex so that we can do the enrichment. I haven't researched it yet. That'll be coming soon. Let's see what we've got. We have 27. Yeah, we've got 28. So I'm going to take just one more of those, and we'll make one more stack. And I'll put those in the box down there. And eventually we'll automate that. We'll get the Covarex enrichment going. We'll automate the production. And then the fuel cells will just get brought down here automatically. Okay, so now there's no fuel inside, which is indicated here by this light. There's no need to add it. So we're not putting any more fuel in. And if we come over here, we can see that the turbines are still humming away. We're still making 24 megawatts. And we have 52,000 steam in the tanks. So these are going to continue to run on stored steam. And then once the level drops to 25, it'll put in another fuel cell and start making more steam. Okay. So later on, when we need more power, we'll add another reactor. When you put two reactors next to each other, they give each other a neighbor bonus. Right now you can see the neighbor bonus is 0%. Two adjacent reactors will each give each other a 100% bonus. So when we add the second reactor here, it's almost like having 4 reactors, because each one will be getting a 100% neighbor bonus. So that's why when we add a second reactor, we put 16 exchangers instead of just 4 more. We'll have 16 in total, and we'll have 28 turbines, and that'll give us 160 megawatts. So it scales up very, very well. And eventually we'll just have a row of 2 reactors going down in a line like this. Putting a third one over here is not ideal, because then you'll have a 200%, 300%, 200%. You only get a bonus when they're right next to each other. So after we add a second one, the next step will be to put 4 in a square. That way each one will be touching 2 others, and you'll basically have a square of 300% bonus times 4, which is equivalent to having 12 single reactors. Okay, so that's it for this episode. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to answer those. This took me a while to figure out. I did spend the time to figure it out on my own, because I wanted to really understand it, and not just copy somebody's blueprint. But it's really, once you figure out how the set reset latch works, the rest of it is fairly easy. It was really the latch that I had a hard time figuring out. Okay, yeah, so we saw it just put in another cell because our steam is below 25. Unfortunately, the temperature is still above 500, so we didn't lose any power production. Cool, so everything's working good. Thanks again. Talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.